Hello world and welcome back to another episode of Applied Energistics 2, where today we're going to be covering something a little bit more complicated and slightly more advanced. This is to do with P2P tunnels. P2P tunnels are a very simple thing. They're a way of getting items from one place to another place, but not just items, it could be many other different things such as energy, redstone, light, but the main thing people use it for are channels. To make P2P tunnels, you're first going to need some iron, some engineering processes, and some flux crystals, and you'll get one of these per craft. Now, in order for P2P tunnels to work, you need at least 2, although you can link them further. Now, as well as that, you're going to need a memory card. This is made with 2 pieces of iron, 2 gold, and a piece of redstone, and a calculation press, and this is going to be your way of actually linking which P2P tunnels are going to link to which other P2P tunnels, if that makes sense. Now here we've got basically a powered controller. Now we know every side of a controller can actually put out 32 channels in total. So that means we can get a hell of a lot of channels just out of one block, which is very, very good. Now most of the time, and up to this point, you've probably just been using dense cable to get all 32 channels into your different locations. But sometimes that can be a bit of a slog when you end up putting a load of dense cable really, really far away, because we know that dense cable is actually a little bit expensive since it's 4 of ordinary glass cable in order to get to it, and you have to cover it, and then you want to make it smart, and it ends up being a bit expensive. This is where P2P tunnels can come in very, very handy. So what we have here is a basic P2P tunnel setup. Now what we have here is we've got our controller, it is simply powered, and we've got our P2P tunnel slapped on the side. Then we have it linked over to where we have 6 drives and an ME terminal. Now you can see here that we are using 7 channels. Of course, we can obviously get one more, but over here we can see that only 2 channels are being used up in this line. Now that is because each P2P tunnel needs power for a start, but each also P2P tunnel takes up 1 channel. Now, technically, this line here is on a separate network. Now, how do we know it's on a separate network? When I place down this secondary controller, it works and it doesn't actually foul with our primary controller. If I had this controller here, you can see that it doesn't work because they're part of the same network. So inside your P2P tunnels, as long as you keep them completely separate, you can actually have a different controller. Now, something else to note, how we have this set up here, obviously we don't have a controller. We know that we could get up to 8 different lines on this little length here. Now with a piece of dense cable, a dense cable can't actually connect directly to a P2P tunnel. This is where the problem lies as well, because you can't always use just your ordinary smart cable. Without a controller, you will only be able to use P2P channels up to 8 channels. If you want to use more, then you will have to use a controller. This will get you up to 32 as well. Now how about I show you something a little bit more advanced with P2P tunnels and channels. Here's something a little bit more impressive. Here we have got 4 lines by 4 lines, so that's 16 in total, rows of 8. That is 128 different channels essentially being used here. However, when we go over to the system here, we can see that all 128 channels are coming just from one dense cable. That is the power of P2P tunnels. Now, what we have here is a slightly larger controller. Now we know that we can obviously have multiple connections, multiple controllers linked together, and that will basically give you a larger brain, and again each side gives you 32 channels. So what I've done here is linking with colors. We have got 8 P2P tunnels here on the orange, and then we have 8 on the magenta, 4 which are in the center here, and then 4 which are on the center on top. Now with this setup we can obviously get quite a lot more with all of the other sides and obviously in the center. But here we have essentially got 8 here and 8 there. Now the reason I've done 8 there on the orange and 8 on the magenta is because that will equal 16. That is 16 on the input and 16 on the output. 16 channels on the input, 16 channels on the output, which equals our 32 channels that can come in on a dense cable. Now we know that in order to get more than 8 channels we need a controller, and because we need a controller we need to make sure that it's separate from our main controller. So here with our creative power energy cube or any energy supply you want to use, you just want your fiber cable to make sure that it's not going to be joining the 2 together, because if this was just an ordinary block going straight into this creative energy cube, these 2 controllers will clash. Now what we have here is very simple. We come in with the dense cable and then we split off one way and the other way, and that will be 4 channels, giving us 12 left. Move to the next one, another 2 that way and another 2 that way. That'll give us 8 left, and then we can step down to ordinary smart cable, because obviously that uses only 8 channels, and we have 8 channels remaining. So that's a way of saving our dense energy. Then it splits again, and it splits again, and that uses up all channels. Now, on the other end of each P2P, we can obviously get 32 channels, because that is what is directly connected to our controller. Which is why with this, we can actually go up to 8 blocks tall. And the reason we can only go up to 8 blocks tall is that through adjacent drives, 8 is as far as we can go. If I went one taller here, we could actually link it up, but it wouldn't actually get any power, because that's just how they work. But if we actually had these on the side here, we would be able to get these powered up as well, but it would start disconnecting up there, as you can see here. So you can expand more, we can go more out of here, but 8 is all you can do. So if you wanted more out of this P2P channel, you wouldn't have it go direct to a drive or something. You would have it go to a dense cable first and then split off again. That would give you a full 32. But this is a way of basically showing the power of P2P tunnels. Now, making a setup like this can be a little bit tedious, and that is because of how you actually need to get everything to link up, which I haven't demonstrated yet. With the memory card, you will be able to link all each individual P2P tunnels to their counterparts. Now, when you first make it, it's not going to be linked, but if you would like to clear your card, just hold Shift and right click in the sky and it will clear your memory card, as you see there. Now, each of these, as you can see, have a different color, and that is all their linking codes. Now, if I take this one in the corner, you first have to do your input, then do your output. So if I hold Shift and then right click here, we have copied the current device configurations to a memory card. Then we go over to our P2P tunnel where we want it to come out of, and don't hold Shift and right click this time, and it will load that device configuration from the memory card. That is how we link our P2P tunnels. Now we can link it further. If I wanted to, I could link it here, and I could link it here, and I could link it here. And now we have obviously our 1 P2P input over here to 4 outputs on the side. And that will still use up 32 channels, of course. We've just changed where things are linked from. So that would also mean that I could only get a maximum, if I wanted to do it evenly, 8 out of these in total, because we're getting 32 out of the one side. Now, the thing is with these cards, as you can see on the left there with Jade, it says the frequency is 2280. That is the frequency of our card. Now, if I walk over to these, we've got 2280, 2280, 2280, and 2280. That's how we know which of our things are. So I recommend getting a mod like Whaler or Jade or the One Pro that will tell you this information. It doesn't exactly say over the memory card itself when you hover here, as you see here. Now, I would recommend when doing things en masse like this, you make multiple of these memory cards, because you will not actually know which ones are linked to where when you accidentally, break one of your lines. This P2P tunnel's gone, we place it down, we can't get that code again if you've already cleared your card, for example. So this is why I would recommend what you do is you link what you want your P2P tunnels to be, and then have a chest next to that P2P tunnel and leave this memory card inside of it, if that makes sense. In fact, we can do that here. We leave our memory card inside of it, and then we know that is what that code is to that. Obviously, this one's cleared here. Now, the other really cool thing about P2P tunnels is that you can go through these quantum link chambers. So here we've got another 16 set up doing the exact same thing for an 8 on the centers and then 8 on the side. And this is going straight into our quantum link. And as we know, quantum links can go cross dimension. So inside here in the nether, we're going to go to our exact same quantum link from last episode, all about wireless. Check that out in the cards up top. And here we have a couple more drives linked up. Now, we know the quantum link can only hold 32 channels going through it, but because of P2P tunnels, we can actually get up to 128 going through it, because we can get up to 16 links of P2P going through it, which is absolutely insane. Here I haven't quite done the same amount of scale, but we've just got 3 connected up here. So using only 3 channels here, we are actually getting 2, 4, 7 different channels working on this side. So that is the main way people are going to be using P2P tunnels when it comes to the ME system. It can be a little complicated, but all it is essentially make sure all your lines are powered. If you're using more than 8 channels, then you have to have a controller, and make sure you link each P2P tunnel to the correct location you want it to be at. It's very, very simple once you get those very basic rules down. However, there are other types of P2P tunnels. Now, here we have got all of the different ordinary P2P tunnels, but here we have got also a redstone P2P tunnel. The redstone P2P tunnel, all you have to do is simply place down a regular ME P2P tunnel and right click it with any redstone appliance. Most simply is a piece of redstone dust. You could use a redstone block, a redstone lamp, a lever, a torch, and it will turn it into a redstone P2P tunnel. Now, to demonstrate how this works, we have got here simply a lever. It's got a P2P tunnel linked to it. And then on the other side, we have a lamp. Both these P2P tunnels are both redstone types, and they are linked together. And then we have the line powered, of course. Now, all I have to simply do is flick this lever and it will turn our light on. This is a very good way of doing vertical redstone, unless you have something like the red power mod, of course. Next up, we have got the item P2P tunnel. Now, this is done using any type of item that is used to actually transfer items. So in this case, we can use a chest because you can store items in a chest. You could also use a hopper or as many as other types of things here. Depending on what you have in the pack, you may be able to do multiple different things depending on what the mod author has done. But you can use other things from Applied Energistics 2, such as buses and storage, import buses and so on and so forth. So here we've got a basic setup. We have a chest full of grass going into a hopper. Now the hopper is pointed into our P2P tunnel. These two are both linked together. Now I haven't got this powered because it was going to do it all the time while I'm recording. If I place this in here, we're going to get power and then items are going to start transferring. Now something to note with these item P2P tunnels, they do not automatically extract from things like chests. They'll automatically input, as you can see, but not automatically extract. This is why you want to do something like a hopper, or if you have something like mechanism, push your items into the P2P tunnel first. And this is for instant teleportation, which is very, very handy. Next P2P tunnel is very similar to items and it's fluids, and you can use any fluid on top of your P2P tunnel. In this case, it's going to be water. It's going to turn it green. And then over here, we have got a similar situation where we have a water tank, and the exact same rules apply. You cannot automatically export with fluids. So this is why we have got ourselves a mechanical pipe here. And when we tell it to pull from our tank, it's going to go through our system and into our other storage tank here. As you can see, it's rising up. Again, we need to power this, of course, as always. Just make sure you're linked together and using the same types of P2P tunnels on either side. Next up, we have got the energy P2P tunnel. Now, this is very similar when it comes to redstone. You can use any type of energy type block. When it comes to AE, the cheapest is probably this energy acceptor, but you could also use a cell. And if the mod author has made any other changes, you could use things such as in mechanism, you can use any type of machine from mechanism in order to make these energy tunnels. Now, the best way to do this is have a block that is able to automatically export in power. So here it's going to be a little bit rapid. If I take this here, when I place a smelter, just to prove, this has no power in it. However, when I place it down from our creative energy cube over here, what we can do is actually, if I set this to none at the moment, that'd be a better way of doing it. Place this down, we've got no power in here. If I now then set this to export its power, it will send it through and start powering our machines. So you could do something similar there where you want to transfer power really, really far, or through a quantum bridge. This next one is quite a fun one, and this is a light P2P tunnel. It's allowed you to send in physical light, although it may be a little bit dimmer, and we are going to have to be in night mode for this, so let's go into night. And over here we have got ourselves a redstone lamp being powered on the system. Of course, we've got two light P2P tunnels, and when I turn this redstone lamp on, the light will take a couple of seconds, but it will light up over there as well. So this is a good way of you maybe although it's expensive, a good way of you having an automatic light switch for mass lighting. Now, this last one here is a P2P tunnel that is added by Applied Mechanistics. It's not part of vanilla Applied Energistics, like these others over here. But this one is the chemical P2P tunnel. This is basically just the exact same again. We're going to have our creative tank here. In this case, it's filled with chlorine. And then using a chemical using our configurator, we could pull this out automatically. And then that will be sent through our system and start going into this ultimate chest over here, as you can see here. As well as that, we probably need to actually set this to export outside here. There we go. Now it's going and we are filling up. But for now, guys, that is going to be everything when it comes to P2P tunnels inside of Applied Energistics 2. It's very, very complicated, but if you stick to my basic rules that I said in this video, you should be all right. If this video helps you out in any way, shape or form, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It would really help me out, and ring the bell button to stay notified when these videos go live. But until next time, guys, take care.